there, friends. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I'm your host, Mr. Rogers. God, I can't do this. I know Simi was Martha Stewart, but I just have to be me. Hi, everyone. I'm Brian from New York, and welcome to week 2 of the JY Recollect prep material. Today we're going to be talking about a man named Jonathan. You see, Jonathan was different from Nathan because Jonathan actually only experienced the beauty of the movement much later in life. He's actually a very successful professional. His 2 children are grown up too. And we had actually only sat down with him and we talked for only an hour, but you could tell that in that 1 hour he really captured the essence of what the movement was all about. At a time when most people his age were so set in their ways, he was so moldable and fashioned to, and most of all just open to what the movement was and what the faith would bring him to. So we asked Jonathan, what had attracted you so much to the movement? And you know, Jonathan said that he was born in a very Catholic family. He was raised, they were very devout. He went to Mass every week, but still he was just searching for something so much more. And he said it was only once he found Jesus Youth that he found a group, a family that was so authentically Catholic in its obedience and love for the church, but yet so genuinely charismatic in its expression. And he found that to be so beautiful. You see, Jonathan being such a busy and active member of the church, it was really the disciplined prayer life and the interior life that Jesus Youth emphasized that attracted him so much. He started finding ways to use technology to strengthen his faith life. He learned about different tools such as apps for Liturgy of the Hours or websites with inspiring reflections. And whereas he used to spend time looking through the news every single morning, he then committed to praying every morning for at least 20-30 minutes with technology. And so when he did that, he was able to turn technology from a distraction into an aid for his faith. So he was on a visit to the Midwest region during a reconstitution gathering, and he was really surprised by the seriousness of the youth that were gathered there. He could hardly tell whose home he was gathering in, but the warmth and the kindness of the youth and the families present was what had attracted him so much. This model of families with open doors and open hearts, that was so new to him. It was beautiful, it was challenging. He also met very mature families that were just as much a part of Jesus Youth as the youth. They inspired him to want more and to become more. He saw that the movement was for the family of the church to come together and to pray together. Little did he know that his home too would become a home to many. So another experience that had really changed him was when he was asked to host a priest and several Jesus Youth families in his own house for a retreat. And so we asked him, wasn't this unusual having so many people in your house? Didn't it require so much sacrifice? And he said, no, not at all. Because he said it wasn't as if we were having guests over the house, but it was just like we were having family. And so, whereas one thing that really stuck out to him was not just the fact that these people looked at themselves as guests, but when they came to his house, they also felt as they were family, and that's the way they acted. And so it was such a great experience for him. He found himself to be so immersed into the writings and the teachings of the church. He would read, discuss, share them with all people everywhere that he would go. If he was at work, he would help clear up some of the common misconceptions that people have about the Catholic Church with his colleagues, but in a calm, cool, and collected manner. And this also transcended into his CCD class, his JY prayer groups, so that wherever he would go, he would be filled with more knowledge and wisdom. And he would bring so much clarity to everyone that he was with. So the best part about all this was that his family was changing too. He was telling us about one experience. There were 2 Jesus Youths from Singapore that were just doing a summer internship in California, and he brought them over to the house, and then the prayer meeting ran late, so he just told them to stay back for the night, just so that he could drive them the next morning. And so his whole family was home, and when he had offered his house so willingly to these two random girls from Singapore, his daughter came up to him and said, "Dad, what are you doing? These are two random girls from halfway across the world, and you're inviting them to stay in our house? Are you crazy?" And he said, "So, what's the big deal?" And that's exactly what went into them and molded her and her brother and his wife into really becoming that Jesus Youth family. So as the interview went on, we just started becoming more and more impressed with the way that he was growing interiorly. One thing that had really changed for him was his sacramental life. Whereas before, someone might have had to tell him, "Don't miss Mass." Now when he was going to Mass, it was more of like a joyful abandonment to the sacraments, and he saw that him and his family and the other youth around him were just so joyful to receive the Eucharist and go to Mass, and it gave him so much encouragement just to live in this culture and know that this culture was really coming about today. Overall, he said that Jesus Youth had helped him to put things into perspective, and he then made faith a priority in his life, and it wasn't just his life, but it was his whole family's life. He ended by telling us that he was always a really busy person, and once he got involved with the movement, the activities and the initiatives, they added on to that. But the difference was, whereas it didn't become a burden for him, what was once just activities and busy things would soon become the strength, and it would end up becoming a source of inspiration for him, his family, to place their whole lives in the trust of God.